Hello GED students, it's good to see you again. Took me a moment to arrange the camera. Today we're going to do our second video lesson, or I guess this is, our second video lesson, I believe, maybe our third. So I want to start out by teaching you the difference between two words that are pronounced the same or nearly the same. Alter with an AR at the end, and altar with an ER at the end. Altar is a structure used for sacrifices or something at the front of the church that it is used for display or prayer or religious ceremony. For example, a bride and a groom come up to the altar when they're going to be married. So alter is a noun, but alter with ER is a verb, and it means to change or modify something. So maybe my blouse, this blouse is a little bit big. I want to alter it. I want to change it. I want to sew it up a little bit on my shoulders or something. I want to sew it. Or the weather has altered our plans. Or we could say the virus has altered our plans very much. We were having school and now we are not because the virus has altered or changed our plans. There is a lot more to talk about with these words, so I have written a website on the board. www.grammar, If you go to that website, they have exercises and fill in the blanks for these two words to help you understand all the different ways they are used. This would help you very much on the GED if you go to Grammar Monster and look up alter and alter and see what they have to say. Just type those two words in and that will help you. Now I want you to get your GED book out. We are on page 108. Let's see, I don't have my pen here. 108. And we're talking about interpreting fiction. That means understanding stories that writers have made up. They're not true stories, they're fiction. And we are looking at style and point of view. The style of a piece of writing is determined by the choices a writer makes in words, sentence structures, images, and a story is written from a narrator's point of view. The narrator may be an outsider in the story. I might write a story about a dog. I am not a dog. I am outside the story, but I might write a children's story about a dog. Or a character who can reveal only what he or she sees or thinks. So I might write a story and I am writing it as if I am a character in the story. That is called so that is, I won't give a name to that yet, but let's look more now at the chapter. I will read some and I will let you read some. Style. A writer has many choices when deciding how to write a story. Please follow along as I read. A writer may use long, complex sentences, short, clipped sentences, or anything in between. A writer may use flowery or formal language, slang, or spoken dialect. For example, spoken dialect. Y'all is not correct grammar, but people in Texas say y'all a lot to mean the plural of you. So that is slang or dialect. I'm sorry, that's dialect. One writer may use vivid images or symbols while another writes a plain, spare story. The individual characteristics that a writer chooses sentence structure, choice of words, use of images, and other devices are all part of the writer's style. Now here is a paragraph. As you read this excerpt, look for the characteristics that this particular author chose. Ask yourself what effect they have on your understanding of the writing. So pause this video and then read that paragraph on page 108 and answer question number 1. What is the effect of the author's description of the horses? Are you done? Have you answered the question? Always stop the video with your mouse or with your finger and then do the work and then start it again. First, did you understand? There's a whole lot of words here that you probably don't know. Roans and Appaloosa, a roached mare, a palomino, 2 paints. All of these different things, those are different kinds of horses. But even if you did not know that, after a while you could see him at the end say, "I could feel the horses on my skin." Another clue is under that paragraph, it tells where it's from. And it's from a story called Stolen Horses. So if you look at those details, that helps you know this is about horses. So what is the effect of the author's description of the horses? Which did you pick? You are correct if you chose 1, because he spends a lot of time describing the horses and lets you imagine their vitality or life and strength. Now here's another question. Another choice a writer makes is which point of view to write from. Will the narrator be outside the story, watching and revealing the characters' actions and perhaps even their thoughts and feelings? If so, the author will be using the third-person point of view. Or will the narrator be a character in the story, able to report only what he or she thinks? In that case, the writer will use the first-person point of view. So if I was to write a story about our class, I might say, I loved coming to class every day and seeing my students. I waited each day to see who would come and enjoyed greeting them all and getting started on their work. If I wrote those words, I would be writing in first person because I use the word I. So that is a first person point of view. But if I was writing in third person, I might say, the students came and sat down in front of the teacher. Some smiled, some were very quiet, some were sleepy, and Gannett was especially sad. So I would be writing about third person. I would be telling about all the characters and what they're doing, and I would not be writing about anyone in particular, or I might choose to write about one character, but I would not be using I would be using he, she, and they. That is third person. So which of the following indicates that the narrator is a character, and so we can know only his thoughts? Number 1, the only part of the night I recall. And number 2, then Ed brought up a second bunch. Which one indicates that the narrator is a character? It's when he uses I in number 1. The narrator tells his own thoughts. I is the clue to that. What is a narrator? It is the person who is telling the story. Now let's look at page 109. The directions say, questions 1 through 4 refer to the following excerpt from a story called Coach. So stop the video now and read all through that selection, and then answer questions 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then come back and we will talk about what is the right answer. Don't listen to the answers without first trying yourself, because knowing the answers, being told the answers, won't help you think through. It doesn't help you to know the answers are right unless you have tried and thought about why. So I will pause. You pause the video, and then when you're ready, turn it back on and we'll go over the answers. Okay, I assume you've all read the selection and answered questions 1 through 4 on page 109. Let's look at number 1. What is Bobby Stark's attitude? And they give us 4 choices. Number B says he takes things in stride. Do you know what that means? It's an idiom, so you may not know. So what we want to do, let's assume that you don't know, and let's look at A, C, and D and try to decide if they are right or wrong. A says Bobby Stark worries about his weight problem. Does he? No, the coach worries about his weight problem, but he is not worried. He is joking around with the coach. C, he is looking forward to the sports season. We don't know that. We can assume that because children like sports, but there's nothing here that really tells us that. So C is not the right answer. D, he feels unfairly criticized by the coach. Does the coach criticize him? Not really. People are smiling, people are joking around as they talk. So no, it is not D. So even if you do not know what B means, he takes things in stride, B is the correct answer. To take things in stride is an idiom that means that you don't let things bother you. You are relaxed about life. You take things in stride. Let's look now at number 2. Because of the narrator's point of view, what does the reader know? Only Bobby Stark's actions. Well, we see some things about Bobby Stark, but we also see some things about other characters and what they do. Daphne goes to throw away her cone. She washes her hand. Coach has a plastic spoon in his mouth. So we know a lot about lots of characters' actions. So it is not A. What about B? Thoughts and feelings of the characters. I don't think that if you look at this again, you find the thoughts and feelings of any character. It is only talking about the things they said and the things they did. So B and D both talk about thoughts and feelings, and those things are not addressed in this passage. So the answer is B. I'm sorry, the answer is C. Oh, I've been writing the answers up here. 1 is B. 2 is C. All we know from this passage is the actions and speech of the characters. We know what they do, we know what they say, but we don't yet know what they feel. Now, and maybe we never will. Maybe we will only see their actions and words all through the story. Number 3, through their dialogue, what kind of relationship can you conclude the characters have with each other? Informal, tense, suspicious, deteriorating. Do you know what the word deteriorating means? It means getting worse. Looking through here, I did not see anything tense or suspicious or deteriorating, but I saw lots of informal relationships. The things that they did, the things that they said, were things that you would say to your friends or people that you knew well. So, A, informal, not formal. Number 4, later in the story, Coach, let's take that off. Later in the story, Coach has this discussion with his wife, Sherry. And I will not read it with expression right now. It's like my apartment, Sherry said, a place apart. Coach cut her off. Don't go on about how much you love your apartment. And that is all that we have about that excerpt. But it says, based on this information and the excerpt, which of the following best describes Coach in his discussion with Daphne? A, brutally frank. B, angry and hostile. Loving and warm. Not entirely honest about his feelings. Well, let's look back at what he said to Daphne. Daphne asks about Mom's apartment, and the coach doesn't say anything bad about the fact that she has an apartment. But here, he is cutting her off. That means not that he is cutting her with a knife, but his words are interrupting her. So, he is not being friendly and warm with Sherry, but when he talks to Daphne, this is not asking about his conversation with Sherry. It's asking about what he said to Daphne. Brutally frank means very, very honest. Was he very honest with Daphne? Was he angry and hostile with Daphne? He wasn't angry and hostile with Daphne. He may be angry and hostile with Sherry. Was he loving and warm? I didn't see loving. Was he not entirely honest about his feelings? D is the correct answer. We see his feelings when he talks with Sherry, his wife, in number 4 in those sentences. But we don't see those feelings when he talks to Daphne. So the answer is D. Not entirely honest about his feelings. So there are the answers on the board. I hope that our explanation helped you a little bit. Sometimes if you don't know the right answer, it is good to decide which answers are wrong, and that helps you know what is left, what is right. Next week, I will post the next lesson. So I hope you have a good weekend. I hope things are going well for your family and you are healthy. If you have a problem, I hope that you will leave a message, send a text, call the school, because we want you to be safe and healthy. Be sure and wash your hands, stay home when you can, and cover your face if you have a mask when you're outside. It's wonderful to see you again, and I hope we will soon be having school together. Not this year, but maybe in the fall. See you next week. Bye-bye.